BJ Mafia was popping. So the Memphis Grizzlies, since drafting Ja Morant number 2 overall back in the 2019 NBA draft, they've been one of the young and ascending teams in the NBA. They've made the postseason now the last 2 seasons back to back, and the Memphis Grizzlies are one of the best young teams in the Western Conference right now. They currently are the number 2 seed as I record this video, just 2.5 games back of the number 1 seed of the Denver Nuggets. And the Memphis Grizzlies right now are looking to make another deep postseason run after going to the Western Conference semifinals last year and losing to the Golden State Warriors, the eventual NBA champions. And the Memphis Grizzlies just came off an 11-game winning streak. They're currently on a 3-game losing streak right now. But as you can see from the title of this video, I'm going to be talking about why the hell the Memphis Grizzlies are extremely overrated. And I'll take it a step further. The Memphis Grizzlies are pretenders. They are not contenders. They are pretenders in the Western Conference. So let's actually talk about this. So the first reason the Memphis Grizzlies are pretenders and they're overrated as hell is because of not only Ja Morant, but also the depth with this team. Now, I will address Ja in just a moment because that could be a whole nother topic within and itself, and I'll briefly discuss that. But let me talk about this team as a whole and where they kind of sit statistically as a team. Now, the Memphis Grizzlies are number 6 in team points per game, number 19 in field goal percentage, 21st in three-point percentage, number 13 in offensive efficiency. They are number 11 in assists per game, and they are number 1 in total rebounds per game. Doing a great job on the glass because they've got a lot of big bodies, guys like Jaren Jackson Jr. Ja Morant can obviously go in and get some boards. Steven Adams, who's now going to be out the next 3 to 5 weeks with a knee injury, so I hope everything's okay there with Steven Adams. Wish him nothing but a speedy recovery. But let's talk about their defense and where the Memphis Grizzlies sit defensively speaking. Now, they are number 10 in opponent points per game, number 1 in opponent field goal percentage, so doing a great job contesting shooters, number 11 in opponent three-point percentage, number 1 in defensive efficiency, number 2 in blocks per game, and number 5 in steals per game, doing a great job. We know that this team is young, athletic, and hungry. They got a lot of dogs on their team when you talk about guys like Desmond Bane, obviously Ja Morant, and defensively they're led by Defensive Player of the Year candidate in Jaren Jackson Jr., who's been on an absolute tear as of late. But now let me actually kind of talk about Ja Morant, because Ja Morant, we all know, is a phenomenal young talent. He's a top 10 to 12 player in the game and one of the best young guards in the game. But to me, he's still got a lot of inconsistencies in his game. Even when he's playing at the top of his game, Ja Morant does have his deficiencies. But let's talk about what Ja's done this season. 27 points per game, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, shooting about 46% from the field, 32% from 3. Not a great job there. And he's also number 4 in the NBA behind Embiid, Giannis, and Luka in terms of usage rate. And while that has gotten the Memphis Grizzlies to have a lot of regular season success in the past and still this season, I don't know how much that's actually going to translate to the postseason, especially when we saw what had actually transpired in last year's postseason. But Ja Morant, phenomenal player. We know he can get to all 3 levels. But at times I see Ja Morant doing too much, or at times he's just wildly sporadic when it comes to his shooting. And we all know that shooting, especially at the point guard position, especially when you're a guy who has number 4 in terms of usage rate, you need to be able to shoot the ball at a better clip. And I'm not saying Ja Morant has to be a Steph Curry or a Damian Lillard or even a Bradley Beal back in his heyday when he was an absolute stud. I'm talking about Ja Morant just having respectable shooting from 3. The reason guys like Luka Doncic can get away with it and Giannis Antetokounmpo, guys who have a higher usage rate, these guys are dominating in every single facet of the game. Maybe Luka not defensively, but I need Ja Morant to step it up when it comes to his shooting, and he needs to do a better job there. But when I talk about the rest of this Memphis Grizzlies team and the depth as a whole, Desmond Bane, great guy. He's doing a great job this season, still over a 20-point per game score, shooting about 43% from 3. Like, Desmond Bane's a phenomenal player. Jaren Jackson Jr., Defensive Player of the Year candidate this year. Offensively, I'd still like his game to step up a little bit more, but JJJ is still a great player, especially when you talk about him on the defensive side of the ball. Tyus Jones, a great guy off the bench. And then you're going to talk about other guys like Dillon Brooks who come in, solid role players and contributors. Not a pedestrian, but Dillon Brooks is a solid player. And you've got other guys like Brandon Clark, obviously coming off the bench. Aldama and Zaire Williams is another good guy I like, who's a young prospect in the game. Like, Taylor Jenkins and this coaching staff have a great roster to work with. They've got a lot of young pieces, and obviously Ja Morant's the superstar caliber player on this roster, but it just feels like there is not enough on this team. And as great as Ja Morant is, Desmond Bane cannot be your number 2 on a championship level team. And it's nothing to take away from him. He's a great player, but honestly and truthfully, he's a number 3. Like, unless your number 1 is Luka, Kevin Durant, or like a Giannis Antetokounmpo, Desmond Bane cannot be your number 2, and that's where my issue is with the depth of this team. They need to go and make a big-time trade at the deadline if they want to take themselves to that next level and have a lot more respectability, because otherwise, I'm not taking them seriously in the Western Conference to go and make a deep postseason run. Let's get into the second topic. Now, the second topic is going to be with the actual competition that they're going to have to face in the Western Conference. Now, before I actually talk about the teams that I would definitively have beating the Memphis Grizzlies, and we're assuming all health, in the playoffs, or the teams that could possibly beat them. I might not put all my money on it, but these teams could definitely go out there and they can compete with the Memphis Grizzlies in a 7-game series. Let's go back and listen to that clip from a couple of weeks ago from Ja Morant in that interview when he was talking about how he was fine in the Western Conference. Let me play that clip.
As you're studying and say, we're going to have to run through them.
Celtics.
No one in the West.
Nah, I'm fine in the West.
Now, Ja Morant, obviously, great young player. I love his, moxie and his attitude, but a lot of times, the Memphis Grizzlies, this is a team that is unrootable for, right? And this video is not coming from that. This video is strictly off the fact that I don't believe in them in the Western Conference. And that statement just put an even bigger target on their back that they already had because of really their attitude that they've kind of carried with them these last couple of seasons. The Grizzlies act like they've won a championship. This team hasn't even been to a Western Conference Finals in recent memory. The Grizzlies need to be humbled, and that was a prime example of it. Ja, you're a great player, but let's pump the brakes. Now, let me actually talk about the teams in the Western Conference I would definitively have, and we're assuming all health, beating the Memphis Grizzlies, no questions asked. I got the Golden State Warriors, the Denver Nuggets, who did whoop them earlier in the year without Jamal Murray in that game. They absolutely pounced on the Memphis Grizzlies, the Los Angeles Clippers, and the New Orleans Pelicans. I think all 4 of those teams healthy absolutely beat the Memphis Grizzlies, no questions asked in a 7-game series. Now, the other teams in the Western Conference that I maybe wouldn't put all my money on, but I would say, hey, these teams are going to go out there, they're going to compete with the Memphis Grizzlies, and this team could possibly go out there and beat the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm talking about teams like the Sacramento Kings, who have arrived before your very eyes. The Minnesota Timberwolves almost beat the Grizzlies last year in the first round. And yes, it is a different team, but they almost went out there and they beat them. If they didn't blow those leads, they might have gone out there and they might have beaten the Memphis Grizzlies. The Dallas Mavericks, obviously Luka, you can never count him out, and look at what he did last year in the postseason. The Phoenix Suns, if Chris Paul is upright and healthy, the Phoenix Suns, this team can go out there and they can be competitive. The Utah Jazz, I don't actually have them winning a series, but with the brand of basketball that they're playing right now, they're very team-oriented. Will Hardy has this team playing up to par. The Utah Jazz can go out there and they can go be a tough out, but they're not going to go out there and win a series. So I will pump the brakes with that. And then also the Los Angeles Lakers. They're getting Anthony Davis back. They just traded for Rui Hachimura, and Russell Westbrook and LeBron James are playing significantly better basketball together now. Let's see what the Lakers can do. Darvin Ham in this squad. The Memphis Grizzlies don't have it easy in the West. We know that the West is a dogfight, right? I think the seedings from seeds 4 through 11 are only like 5 games apart in the Western Conference. Like the Memphis Grizzlies, I don't care how talented they are and how much experience that they have or the lack thereof, it is going to be a tough out in the Western Conference. Let me get into my last topic. Now, the last reason the Memphis Grizzlies are overrated as hell and they're not going to make a deep postseason run because they are pretenders is because of their free throw percentage. They are dead last in the association in free throw percentage. They're only shooting 71.2% from the charity stripe. That is not going to cut it. You can talk about all of the other great things that they do defensively, how much anticipation and tenacity that they play with defensively, the kind of prowess that they have offensively, and what they do on the glass, led by a young superstar in Ja Morant. None of that will matter if you cannot connect from the charity stripe and knock down your free throws. I'm not saying you have to be the Boston Celtics shooting 83, 84% from the free throw line. I'm just saying be respectable. You are dead last in the association. Come postseason time, when things get tighter and it comes to playoff basketball, which is the big thing, you're not going to be able to leave points on the board, especially if you're a team that does not have all of the necessary adequate weapons outside of just Ja Morant. You need one other all-star caliber player to take off that pressure off of Ja Morant. And the Memphis Grizzlies, they're a good young team. They're a second-round team at best. They can go out there and they can win a series, but they're not going any further than that, and we're assuming all health in the Western Conference. Good regular season team. They're not quite there yet. The roster construction still needs one more big piece. But as of right now, the Memphis Grizzlies, they're overrated as hell, and only time will tell. But Grizzlies fans, NBA fans, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think about the Memphis Grizzlies being overrated and them being pretenders? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you guys enjoyed today's video, man, make sure you guys drop me a thumbs up. It takes 1 second and it helps me and the channel out tremendously. And if you guys are new here, consider hitting that subscribe bell to stay tuned for more NBA content that I do here on YouTube. And make sure you guys go follow me on my socials. I just launched my brand new Instagram and TikTok platform so that you guys can go follow me on there. That will be focused just strictly on all of my sports content that I do. The link tree will be in the description down below. But thanks again for sticking around throughout the whole video. Brett James, AKA BJ. I'm out, y'all. Peace.